come in, sir?
Please come in.
Come in, Mr. Singh.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
Please sit down.
Thank you, sir.
मैं भूल न जाऊँ instead of asking कि मैं बैठ जाऊँ, we are sure, just wait, we are going to tell you to sit down anyway.
Sir.
है ना?
Yes, sir.
So,
Thank you, sir.
Anyway, so Jaspinder, you have a very bright record. Can you tell us about the moot court?
Yes,
If you are advising a young student who is appearing for the moot court for the first time,
Yes, sir.
what are the 2-3 things you will advise him or her to do?
So basically, if a person is doing it for the first time, I will be telling him you must read your proposition first of all, because there you have to prepare a brief and you have to think from both the sides, what your opponent is going to say and what you are going to say. And then you have to prepare your arguments, keeping in mind that what you are saying, first of all, you have to justify it with the constitution if it is based upon constitutional law, and then your arguments must follow on based on other laws. And again, keep in mind that what your opponent is going to say for the rebuttal rounds, sir, because that is the second round that happens in the moot court competitions. And then prepare yourself in such a way that you are as polite as possible with the judges, because they're going to grill you like anything, because that happens in the moot court competitions, that you are grilled at certain constitutional aspects. So that might happen, but you need not panic. And if you don't know anything, you may ask for the pardon, and that's it, sir. I'll be telling you.
And normally, how much is the time given for the first proposition and the second defense?
Sir, it depends. For example, there are 2 speakers in each team and 1 researcher. So 10 minutes to each speaker from each team is given, and they present their case. First one side presents its case, and then second side presents its case. Then again 2 minutes for rebuttal, and then there is a round of sir rebuttals that you have to ask from the judge. If he permits, only then sir rebuttal is allowed. Otherwise, that is not allowed.
Now, this 10-minute norm is a standard norm, or it is fixed for every competition?
Sir, it is not a fixed norm. Basically, you are given 20 minutes to a team. The entire competition, it is of 45 minutes. Normally, in the preliminary rounds, because there is a time constraint in the preliminary rounds. So 45 minutes is the total time, where 20 minutes time is allotted to one team. There a candidate can ask that, sir, speaker 1 will be getting 12 minutes. They can ask for that, and speaker 2 8 minutes as per their preparations.
And when you won the competition in Nalsar, what was the subject?
So that was constitutional law, sir.
And what was the specific topic?
So the topic was with respect to the federalism, and it was with respect to federal distribution allocation of under Article 280, the Finance Commission. It allocates for the states. So that financial allocation, sir. Okay. Financial federalism.
Have you heard of the proposal about the simultaneous elections?
Yes, sir.
Now, is it a threat to federalism?
Just a second, sir. So when we say it is a threat to federalism, it's a major statement that we are making, and there is a school of thought that say that it is threat to federalism because different states will be having the elections simultaneously at the same time, and the center will be having, and it will be affecting the poll result of the states, because it is like that the people who are going to vote, the voters, they might bend towards the party which is going to be at the center. So that ways they might think in a manner that they will be voting for the party which is in the center. So thinking about the states or the rights of the states at that point of time, it might be diluting the federalism as per that school of thought, sir.
That, to your mind, is the only threat to federalism?
That is not the only threat. Yes,
what about the tenure of with the assembly? Why should it be linked to the fate of, say, Lok Sabha or something happening in other state? Suppose Tamil Nadu loses majority, why should Punjab be affected?
Yes, sir. Sir, the other arguments which the other side makes, that is that there will be a constructive no confidence motions if it is about no confidence motions, and in no confidence motion it is not going to affect what is happening in Punjab or what is happening in Tamil Nadu. That will not be affecting. That is how it is being proposed, sir. Yet the matter is under proposal. So
yeah, thank you. Very well answered. Yeah.
Thank you.
Should we shift from constitutional law to something else which you might or may not have studied, but you are a bright student of law. I think if you can satisfy me. I'm personally interested in copyright laws.
Yes,
so there is a history of copyright laws about copyright about music, copyright about books, copyright about dramatic productions, and all this seems to have changed in the context of OTT platforms and digitization.
Yes.
So the whole issue of jurisdiction, piracy, can you chase it? Can you effectively get a remedy? So if I ask you to begin with a simple question, what are the copyright related laws? One is the law of copyright,
Yes,
which
sir.
is a bare act, which you can read and see what it applies to.
Yes, sir.
Then you also have copyright as it by extension applies to cinematic performances, by extension
Yes.
to television programs, by extension again to streaming and so on.
Yes, sir.
But if I say copyright related laws, what other laws will come to your mind?
So there are the neighboring rights with respect to copyright. For example, if a person has written a book and that is to be converted into a play or into a movie, so they are the neighboring rights with respect to copyrights.
But normally when you have an agreement signed,
Yes, sir.
the agreement, the ironclad agreement very clearly mentions the cinematic rights, the digital rights, the electronic rights, the translation rights, they are there. I'm asking, are there any other acts which can be related to copyrights? Like for instance, you have, shall we say, intellectual property rights,
Yes, sir.
trade related other rights like
Yes, sir.
brands, logos, patents. Patents would apply to scientific inventions and
Yes,
so
sir.
on. And copyrights would have, these
Yes,
would be
sir.
more or less related rights,
Yes,
wouldn't they
sir.
be?
So patents, trademarks, copyrights, and we can say digital. Pardon, I'm not able to recall the word, sir. That is from copyright, like IPRs of various kinds. So first of all, it is we say copyright. Then we go to patents, and then there are trademarks, and then there are plant variety rights also are there. So
We'll come to that little later.
yes, sir.
That's,
So
that's what I was about to go to ask you. I would come to geographical indicators and
Yes, sir.
biodiversity later.
Yes,
but
sir.
right now, just let's concentrate on copyright related rights. Would you think of any other rights which can be lumped together with copyrights? Digital rights, intellectual property rights, to affirm that you are the sole creator of this. There is a commercial aspect and there is a affirmative claim that this is your creative work.
Yes,
to
sir.
be identified as a creator of that.
Yes, sir.
So copyright is more or less, to my mind, sorted out. So all right, so what you were volunteering, the plant varieties,
Yes,
but
sir.
that is biodiversity and geographical indicators.
Yes, sir.
Now, geographical indicator again would allow you to have a certain kind of a commercial. It would identify a product. It would certify the quality of a product. It would give you some kind of monopolistic use. Tea from Darjeeling, chappal from Kolhapur,
Yes, sir.
hapus from Ratnagiri, champagne from a particular region, cognac from a particular region. Fair enough. But what about the biodiversity?
Yes, sir.
What laws govern biodiversity?
So there are two laws. One which is related to biodiversity solely on the basis of international convention, which we have signed, Convention on Biodiversity.
When was it signed?
So it was signed in 1992. If I'm
No,
not
no, you're
exactly
fairly
right.
close. It doesn't
Yes,
matter whether it's 92, 93,
Yes.
because it comes into effect after a certain number of countries ratify
Yes,
it,
sir.
it comes into force.
Yes, sir.
So we'll not quibble on that. What is the domestic legislation about biodiversity,
Yes, sir.
which is of significance to us?
The National Biodiversity Act 2022. There are certain authorities in that act at the center level, state level, and at the district level, sir. And whenever the person,
Fair enough. I'm sure you know the stuff very well. One last question which I want to ask you in this context
Yes.
is there is genetically modified life forms,
yes, sir.
which we also call BT things.
Yes,
So there is a BT potato, BT tobacco, BT brinjal, BT mustard, BT cotton, whatever.
Yes, sir.
And the jury is still out whether there is a consensus in scientific community. A scientist as eminent as Pushpa Bhargav
Yes, sir.
disputed the specialist committee's recommendations. The government of India, when Jairam Ramesh used to be the Minister of Environment, had a vote fast. They changed their attitude with the change of government. There has been a very strong agitation about this in Karnataka, Professor Najendra Swami and Jardari in Uttarakhand. People like Seema Sirohi, Stolen Harvest and Vandana Shiva. So what are your views on this? Can you legally regulate scientific research if it has commercial applications? And what are the rights of farmers who refuse to, for whatever reason, they might be Luddite, they might be having objections, use genetically modified life forms?
Yes, sir. So when it comes to genetic modified organisms, sir, basically there are two major concerns: whether they are eatable, whether we are going to consume them, whether we are not consuming them. When it comes to cotton, sir, it is permitted under Environment Protection Act. There is GEAC count.
So let's go to the edible ones.
Yes, sir. When it comes to edible, there is a questioning in the general public, as well as that with respect to the bifurcation of vegetarians and non-vegetarians. When you are going to incorporate a gene of an organism into the plant, so how is it affecting the sentiments of the people?
Thank you. I have to ask you a simple question.
Yes,
if I want to ask you to recommend to me a good book on copyrights, not BARE Act, what would that be?
So right now, no book comes to my mind, sir. I'm really sorry.
No, I think you have good reasons. Even if you go to Jan Book Company and ask for a book, he says, take a BARE Act, take a notification. He doesn't have a good book. The only good book is an English book, which doesn't have too much application here. Thank you very much. I'll pass you on to Professor Tripathi.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Jaspinder Singh, you seem to be a very bright student of the laws. But as you know that all the legal systems in the world, the punishment is the fundamental, the rule. But the one punishment that is controversial universally everywhere, like divergent views, is the capital punishment.
Yes, sir.
In that context, recently a Supreme Court said, the Honorable Justice U. Lalit's bench, that is regarding to the mental health aspect of the people who have been given capital punishment.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on it and how this judgment was necessitated?
Yes, sir. Sir, when it comes to capital punishment, the debate is well settled in the Bachchan Singh's case, where it says that it is in the rarest of the rare cases. And when it comes to recent judgment on mental health, sir.
Now that you mentioned the Bachchan Singh judgment, 1980 judgment, 1983 judgment, the Bachi Singh, where it was elaborated
Yes,
that
sir.
what will constitute rarest of rare, 1983.
Yes, sir.
Both judgments from the Punjab.
Yes, sir.
History.
Machi Singh and
That's very
Bachchan
interesting.
Singh. Yes,
Anyway, yes.
Yes, sir. So when it comes to mental health, sir, then there is this aspect of recently we have come with mental health act also in 2016 we have come up with
2017.
Pardon, sir. 2017.
Mental Health Act.
Yes, sir. Pardon, sir. And sir, with respect to this very judgment, it has this in mind when the person is filing for the appeals in the cases, and at that point of time, the appeals linger on. For example, in Devinder Singh Pullar's case, what has happened is that he has filed the petition with the governor and president.
No, here you are touching something else. The inordinate delay, 2014 Supreme Court talked about it. This could be one of the grounds.
Yes, sir.
So, inordinate delay suddenly you were touching upon it. But
Yes,
right
sir.
now
That is what I want to
mental health issue that
Yes,
we
sir.
are talking about.
Sir, I want to connect it with the mental health in a way that when it is taken a long time, then it
Yes.
is going to affect the mental health of
yes,
the
you're
person.
Right.
And then that is going to impinge upon his, again, we can say, right to life, sir, of a prisoner. And at that point of time, it must be taken into consideration that whether the person is in sane condition, because if he's insane, then there is no point in giving a capital punishment.
That's
to such
very good.
persons.
That's very good. Just one last thing. What is your personal opinion about it?
Sir,
And are there any ethical issues connected with the taking away the life
yes, sir.
as punishment?
So when we talk about punishment to the criminal, Okay, sir.
So I'm asked your personal opinion.
Yes, a personal view. So when it comes to capital punishment, so in the rarest of the rare cases, and it involves the matter of life, sir, and life cannot be taken without the authority of law, sir. And law has to be used in the rarest of the rarest cases when it is like so derogatory that the person forgot what the humanity was while committing the crime. At that point of time, it can be thought. And in the recent judgments, as Supreme Court has said, that when a person is beyond reforming, then capital punishment can be used. But it must be as a rarest exception to the law. It must not be the rule, sir. And when it comes to death penalty, it must be given on the basis of certain mitigating factors.
For your opinion, with your permission,
Yes,
your
sir.
short answer would be that you are in favor of capital punishment remaining on the book.
Yes, sir. In the rarest of the rarest
Fair.
cases.
So 1983, 1980 judgment, that is just endorsing. One last question, very quickly. The Section 375, that exception that relates to, again, the matter is being raising in the Delhi High Court.
Yes, sir.
What's your opinion about that? Because the marital rape is the one such issue that is also being very hotly discussed.
Yes, sir. It is basically impinging the Article 14 when you talk about equality. You're talking about marital rape, sir. And marital rape, recently Karnataka High Court, it gave a order.
Yes.
Yes, sir. It says that rape is a rape, man is a man, woman is a woman. So when a rape is done, so it is done with the woman, not with the wife. If it is without consent, then marriage is not a license to do unconsensual
Thank you.
act with the.
Instead of done, you should use the word committed.
Sorry,
So
sir.
the words really matter.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Can I ask you, in your view, what is the distinction between law and justice?
Yes, sir. So law is basically the set of rules and regulations. Those are governing the system, we can say, governing the society or governing the government. And when we come to justice, justice is a principle upon which we expect law to be based. So justice is more about how the resources are allocated, how the things are distributed, and what kind of good life we are giving to people, sir.
So can you have an unjust law?
So there were many unjust laws which were declared unconstitutional. Recently, one which is coming to my mind is 377 of IPC, sir. There have been unjust laws, sir.
Okay. So you want to revisit that question then? I mean, law must be coming from a social situation,
Yes, sir.
correct? Justice presumably is also coming from a social situation, right?
Yes, sir.
So an unjust law would then be incompatible. Would that be correct?
So laws, when we say it is in a written form or unwritten form, at times social laws are also there. For example, sati was a kind of norm, and it was
No,
unjust.
I'm not talking about norms and mores.
Yes, sir.
Because-
It's more a custom than a law.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
you
sir.
know how the upper caste Hindu treats the Dalit.
Yes, sir.
That is a custom which is followed. That's a practice which is followed, and it is an unlawful practice. But it is followed even today, right? And the legal system has not been able to address it, correct? So what I'm asking is that if things emanate from the social circumstances and the social ambiance which is there, how do certain laws become unjust as a consequence?
Yes, sir. So there have been certain situations in our society on the basis of which laws are made, and then the society changes, and then laws are required to be reformed. If those laws are not reformed, then we can say those laws became unjust. And the unjust laws are basically reflection of society, as you said, sir. This is how the laws must be reformed if they are unjust. So that is.
So
what
would it be a lawful position to take that you can't wear a turban, a woman cannot wear a turban, or a girl cannot wear a hijab and go to school? So can you have a law which debars this, that a Christian cannot wear the cross and go to school because you do not want the display of religion in any form?
Yes, sir.
Would that be a legal thing, or would you think that's an unjust law?
Sir, it depends upon the country we are talking about, sir.
I'm talking about India.
When we come to India, sir, we are like diverse. We are the country with the diversity living here. And recently, the judgment of Karnataka High Court, which bans hijab in the schools, sir, and that law has been made constitutional. Order that has been passed has been held as constitutional order. And sir, in the public domain, I respect the judgment of the Karnataka High Court. But when it comes to the personal matter, whether this law is just or unjust, I think we must see that what is the implication of banning it. Is it going to affect the education of the women of that very community for which that ban is there? If it is affecting, then the law can, for example, be challenged. And right now, the matter is sub judice, sir, in this case, sir. And if the law turns out to be unjust, and then it will be struck down by the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court.
Right. One last question. I mean, if we accept constitutionally that India is a secular country,
Yes, sir.
would the decision to ban the hijab, etc., be considered to be constitutionally appropriate?
So we again need to come back to the situation that what secularism is in that nation. In our country, secularism is more of accommodative secularism. And when we talk about countries like France, there they say you're not going to display your religious symbols outside the in the public, sir. So when it comes to our country, the secularism means you have to accommodate all the diversities in all the public domains. It is more of a positive secularism where the government is going to help to sustain the diversity of the nation, sir. That is what.
Okay. I'm very happy I pass it on, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Do you think there is any difference between a school uniform where the Sikh students are allowed to wear a turban?
Yes, sir.
It is a religious symbol, it identifies them as Sikh, and it is perfectly valid, legal, and justified. So, what is the difference between Sikh boys wearing a turban and Muslim girls wearing a hijab?
Sir, I have two answers for this. The first answer is as cited in Karnataka High Court judgment about essential religious practice. It has been held that hijab not being the essential religious practice in Muslim community. And secondly, when it comes to turban, yet there has been no case law where it has been held that turban is essential religious practice for Sikhs. But sir, I personally want to move to the culture part of this. When we say that we have a right to protect our culture, sir, under Article 29 of the Constitution of India, sir. When we look at turban, sir, it has become culture of Sikhs. And when we look at hijab, some portion of Muslims, I think they have, it is my personal opinion, sir, that they have incorporated it as a culture, sir. Now, when we look at from the angle of religion, sir, then it is essential religion. It is not essential religious practice. Hence, it has the order of banning it was upheld. But when we look at it from the view of culture, sir, then there is your right to preserve your culture. I think it should be looked from that angle as well, and culture must be accommodative and in the diverse nation.
One last question. Who decides whether something is essential in a religion?
Yes,
the
sir.
court or religious experts?
Yes, sir. Sir, this is again a point of debate, sir. When it comes to our Honorable Supreme Court, we are deciding this from the era of Shirur Math judgment, sir. And still it is continued. But there are legal experts. They say that we need what is essential in a religion is not to be decided by the judges. Rather, it is to be decided by the people or prophets of the religion themselves, sir. So, like this is matter of controversy, sir, and debate.
The Anand Mark judgment was decided by the court.
Yes, sir.
Anand Mark judgment.
Yes, sir.
In a secular state, there might be a point of view which is different from this one. We'll keep that apart. Anand Mark judgment he's bringing out to you, the proud judgment long time back.
Yes, sir.
All right. But we'll not do that. I think I'm very extremely happy with your interview. There are some questions you tempted us to stay confined to the realm of law, which is your core competence. But I think you have studied constitutional law, you have studied international law. So even if other questions crop up, as the Honorable Chairman put you questions on elections, federalism, Indian polity, equity, gender bias, you yourself brought LGBTQ rights by 377,
Yes,
you went into marital rape.
Yes,
So the problem of equity is there. And I think even if Ambassador had asked you questions on Ukraine, Russia, issues of genocide, war crimes, human rights would come up. So I'm very confident that you will handle yourself well. Your background seems to be you have studied a bit of sociology, more than a bit of sociology. You have studied jurisprudence and you have studied criminal law and criminal code of procedure. So privacy, capital punishment, euthanasia, everything would be taken care of. So I am not worried. When is your interview?
Sir, it's on 18th of May.
I think
a
you
long time.
just relax and enjoy yourself.
You were doing very well.
You are doing
You
excellent.
did extremely
Excellent.
well. I'm not sure. Let me discuss with my colleague whether what you're wearing is very smart, no doubt.
Thank you, sir.
But whether a dark suit is highly recommended or this can pass off as acceptable.
In summer month, I am erring on the side of, but I would stay with you. I would prefer a shade of grey even if, I mean, this is, you could argue this is a shade of grey,
Yes, sir.
but the problem is that I would say that I would like a darker suit for a formal occasion.
Yes, sir.
But in summer months, if you find that dark color is very oppressive, the chairman is quite right. The jury, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't mind a light suit, but then you might say, मैं linen की suit पहन के जाऊँगा, जो crumple भी होगी. I had another problem.
Yes.
My problem was not the suit so much as this thing. Because you are color coordinating, you are turban with a tie,
Yes, sir.
but this orange thing coming out of the patka
Yes, sir.
is distracting.
Okay, sir.
So either you take a little care,
Yes, sir.
you don't have to color code that, otherwise the turban would get lost. But have some combination,
Yes,
which
sir.
is not orange and crimson.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So one more question that I have, that I am wearing a very light blue shirt with this.
No,
No,
White.
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 So I think, the fact that we started debating about the color.
Yes, sir.
So when in doubt, err on the side of caution. And dark grey suit is the best option. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So why leave it vague? All right? And secondly, in any case, the color of your shoes
Is again
is
light.
too bright. It's a very formal occasion.
Yes,
So dark grey suit with black shoes and black socks is the ideal combination.
Fine, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
All the best.
Now, two things. I haven't told you the
Sorry.
two bits of advice which we give to everybody. You would have noticed we haven't gone beyond your DAF at all. Everything was from your DAF.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it? So that is the likely scenario in the real interview also. Pick up your DAF, read it carefully as an exercise, identify potential questions out of it. Maybe 100, 110, 20.
Yes, sir.
The more you can identify, the better prepared you will be.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Definitely.
And secondly, what newspapers do you read?
So right now I'm reading The Hindu, then I'm reading Times of India, and then I'm reading Punjabi Tribune.
But if you can add Indian Express,
Okay, sir.
that's a very useful newspaper especially for the civil services. So that will be helpful.
Yes, sir.
And do you maintain a diary and write notes from the newspapers or mental notes only?
Mental notes.
No. Immediately, starting from tomorrow,
Yes, sir.
start a diary. Pick up 5 items every
sir.
day
Yes, sir.
from the 3 newspapers. 1 item, 1 page.
Fine, sir.
And that will be very useful for you. And on the day of the interview, do not forget to read the headlines at least. Are you there in the morning or afternoon?
It's afternoon.
Afternoon. Okay, that means you have the time also. So read the newspapers because sometimes the discussion starts with the newspaper.
Fine,
Okay.
sir.
Do you have any questions?
So one major question, that is when the controversial question with respect to, for example, turban or hijab and Chandigarh and Punjab. So was I able to?
You are perfect.
You're perfectly
You
all
are
right.
perfect.
Okay, sir.
Absolutely.
So I had this doubt that maybe I'll be having some
not
bias
at all.
playing in
Not
my
at all.
head.
You are brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
I'll just make this thing that if you're looking at your interview around the end of May,
Yes, sir.
hopefully by that time the Ukraine-Russian situation would be over, hopefully.
Yes, sir.
And but so I think on genocide, the whole issue of crimes against humanity, was genocide committed, etc., is something, as Professor Pant said, you might wish to look at some history. If there is a panelist, that is a question that could come up.
Definitely, sir, I will. Sir, with respect to IPR, you were talking about some rights that are related to IPR, copyrights.
So what I'm saying, not copyrights itself. There are intellectual property rights.
Okay, sir.
So the international arrangements, TRIPS and
TRIPS, yes,
WTO,
sir.
those mechanisms have been rendered obsolete by technology going constantly,
Yes, sir.
So what do you do to that?
Okay, sir. Compulsory licensing and all must be
Absolutely.
there. Yes, sir.
And if you concede Chandigarh to Haryana, you will be doing a good job.
If I
You
can.
get 10 on 10.
He belongs to Haryana. Kanda.
Okay, that's why you're saying that, sir. No, sir, otherwise in the interview, I have given 2-3 mocks and I have been asked that you must try to be status quo-ish. If you want to add something, you can just go to Rajiv Longowal Pact. So, because in my first mock, I have been little for pro Punjab and Chandigarh pro Punjab, and I was told that this is like you're being spokesman of Punjab, so don't do that. So how?
I wouldn't be very
I'm
sticky
not
about
sure.
that because
I'm-
why shouldn't I feel strongly about it?
About your
Pulna
state.
Gulab da, Chandigarh, Punjab da, I've been listening to it
Yeah.
ever since I was a 16, 17-year-old person.
Yes,
And now I'm 70 plus.
Yes,
So I don't think that you have to be inhibited
Yeah,
about that.
Okay,
We
sir.
have our own loyalties, preferences.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very good luck.
And don't try
Because
middle
suppose,
ground.
yeah, because if
What
you
you feel.
if you make it to the foreign service, so and in the international scenario, would you be defensive about India, or you'll go for it? Exactly, exactly on the same analogy. It's bad for Punjab. Why not?
Okay, sir. And since my interview is in like more than 1.5 months, so if I see that how much marks with respect to
You'll
current
be told
performance-
you're getting excellent
told,
marks.
right.
Okay, sir.
Just one second. When you're
Yeah,
standing, your tie should be touching the belt. It's 1 inch short, so
Fine,
make
sir.
sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Sir.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All the best.
Thank you, sir.